This is Younger's kin. This is Old Town Native 74. Peter grew up here, me, the Old Town. So we all just met organically, and we're all talking history of Old Town San Diego. So Old Town San Diego, 29 different indigenous groups, different ethnicities lived in harmony here. That's Younger's kin right there.
Amen.
I mean, why did they not mass murder each other up and down like they did everywhere else?
Because it's heaven.
It's San Diego, right?
Finest city.
And we just organically met them asymmetric of each other. He grew up here and he was talking about basketball, playing different ethnicities basketball. Black, the Portuguese, the Wapville, remember?
Waptown, Tunerville, they used to call it the Portuguese. Yeah, it was Tunerville. And Frontier was the blacks mainly, because that was old Navy housing.
So where was Tunerville exactly?
Tunerville was, it's Cabrillo National Recreation
My Gold
Center.
Dragon. Sicilian
nice.
Italian.
Right up
Nice.
towards the end of Rosecrans. Right, that area right there. That's Tunerville.
So you're so he grew up here in Old Town, but you went to Point Loma High, right?
Yeah, I went to Point Loma High School.
So did you.
I went to Hilltop.
Oh, nice.
Chula Vista, class of '84.
Nice.
Hilltop Lancer.
I'm 78. I went to Weber High in Ogden, Utah, and Mission Bay.
Maybe.
Buccaneer. I'm a Mission Bay guy. I grew up in Ogden, Utah, and Mission Bay, and in PB.
West Side of San Diego.
Well, the statue right here at Old Town, the Mormon is my great-great-grandpa, Abraham Hunsaker the First.
You're kidding.
Me and my
That's
friends
him.
were playing
Oh,
there.
wow, that's too much.
Every
So-
time I hiked, we were beating them so bad. Every time I
But,
hiked the ball.
again, we were talking earlier,
In my face.
29 different ethnicities. This is in 1840s, 1850s. Lived in harmony here.
They started walking
Yes.
towards me.
Portuguese, Mexican, and this was what? New Spain they called it, and then it was Mexico. But come on, the Kumeyaay lived here for 18,000 years.
Exactly.
Butch, the
But,
Wilder,
you
younger
know, there was the
Barksdale.
blacks,
Senior
the
Chief John
Portuguese,
Nathan
the
Barksdale
Italians,
raised me from
you
the
know,
age of 5. He brought me from
Mexicans,
Chicago to here.
Portuguese,
Chicago.
Spanish,
That's where my
every-
grandfather retired from.
Germans, even Germans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, there was a family down here in Old Town. They were Germans.
I proposed to my second wife.
But,
Right
it was
up there.
amazing. It was amazing,
Yeah,
man.
she took me for 40
Now, how old are you?
74.
Nice.
And it was amazing because I went to Point Loma
Yeah,
High School.
my second was a
and I
Jersey
think
girl
there was only
from Cherry Hill,
6
New Jersey,
Mexicans in the host club. Mainly it was all white.
That does
Yeah.
not surprise me,
But
considering Senior Chief
I had to-
Barksdale. I don't know much about
I didn't have to
Senior
be
Chief
bused.
Well, the Portuguese have been here
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah, the Portuguese. There was the Portuguese there, but
Chinese.
yeah, they went to Roosevelt High, Junior High, Dana, and
Dana Jr., that's in Point Loma, right?
yeah, it's going-
OB, right?
yeah, exactly.
So there's the cross right here. So we were at 250. At 250, the celebration was right there. They raised the Kumeyaay flag finally, and they had really fantastic speakers finally.
Finally, they got recognized.
I'll tell you something, a great story. You know where the Kumeyaay's biggest village was? Pacific Beach, PB, and it was called, Peter, it was called, what was PB called?
Only God could have arranged this.
Yes, absolutely.
That's why it's called the Big G 2020.
Yeah, nice.
Right.
The ghosts of the temple is 2021, though.
Love it. So, PB was called what we were talking about?
Oh, yeah.
The Kumo-Jumo. Kumo-Jumo. And that was the Kumeyaay word.
Indian village,
Yeah.
Kumeyaay.
And so their biggest thing was a PB. That's where that makes sense, don't it? And so,
They could grow a lot of maize out there. They grew right here.
but these hills right here, they finally cleaned this place up. It was horrible. By the way, anything that's taller than you,
It's not native.
it's not native here. None of these trees are native here. And so, but
Oh yeah, they brought a lot of that shit from Spain.
you know who brought it?
Trees, they took a lot of it back.
Kate Sessions.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a great story about Kate Sessions.
She did Balboa Park.
She
Yeah.
was beautiful. Wasn't she? What a wonderful lady, man.
But she had this mule, and they would bring it into Coronado, and then she'd have to. And she says she would get so pissed because her mule would be seasick. And I learned that story here, and I got to tell you this story real quick. I'm 7 years old. I'm in Old Town with my grandpa, Abe Hunsaker IV, and Ella. This older woman comes to me, and she says, now, what were we talking about that Gary House used to be called? And you said your brother went through one of the orphanages here?
Anthony Home.
The Anthony Home. And you said there was maggots in the mush?
Mush. Oh, man. He used to tell me about it, man.
So,
It was so disgusting.
this woman come to me and she says, you're Abe and Ella's grandson, huh? I was 7 or 8 years old. I was standing right there in Old Town. She says to me, I want you to know this story, boy. And she's very old. She says, I was a little girl and they murdered my mom and dad in Mission Valley. And she says, they put me in the orphanage, which was not an orphanage. She says it was a slave camp. And she says, been going on for 100 years and they sold these slaves into Europe. She says, see that house right there? They came down, they bought me, they put me in there and made me a house slave. I lived there my whole life. At the end, the old man, after the madam died, gave me the house. Don't let anybody ever tell you this was an orphanage. This was a slave camp. And she says everybody in this community fought against it, but the Spaniards were nothing but mass murdering killers when they got here.
They were.
And she says, and by the way, James Hunsaker, the first sheriff here, who tried White Earp, and that's a descendant of Younger right there. And we just met him organically.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
It is something. And then he started talking to us out of nowhere. And I forgot that the Gary House was not the Gary House.
Anthony House.
Anthony House. It was a slave
Anthony
camp.
Home.
Go ahead.
Ghost Rider, the Jornada del Muerto on Facebook. Otherwise, you can
I'll look it up.
Otherwise, you can find me on the Ken Barksdale. I already added 500 people just in the last 2 days.
Nice.
I got 2 web pages. One is the Ghost Rider, the other one is We Are One Enterprises.
Well, it's a pleasure meeting you.
25% I gave back to everybody else. The top 10 own over 80. I told Bernie, minimum 25.
You said you just bought a cigar at the cigar shop, right?
That ship down there, the HMS Surprise.
Yeah, nice. So we're headed down there.
Get fixed.
I'm going to do
so that I can sail it to at least Hawaii. But I want to take it back to Bermuda where I first saw it.
So you know it's called False Bay here. You know why it's called False Bay here? The Spaniards, when they got here, thought this was the open bay, like in New Orleans, like in San Francisco. And they got here and it pulled out. You know the ship's still laying right there.
There's more than one ship there.
Yes. And it pulled out and they couldn't get out. And so Don Quixote, have you ever read Don Quixote? That's pseudo de facto pen name. All these guys wrote because the queen would have had them killed. What did every one of them say about this spot right here where we're standing? Every one of them said, this is heaven. We're in heaven. 29 different, 20, why can't we do it again, Peter? Why can't people get along? 29 different, and you said you played and by the way, the natives played basketball for thousands of years.
Exactly, yeah.
And you said it best.
Here's an answer for it. It's the $5 million house is right up the hill from there.
Yeah.
You said that you played it, you called it Waptown, you called it
Tunaville.
If those OB vigilantes come up behind me again, I'll fucking kill them.
Yeah, Waptown, Tunaville. Old Town was Mexicans. Linda Vista was a mixture of whites, blacks, and whites, Mexicans, I think. But Frontier was blacks. Old Town, Mexicans. Tunaville is Portuguese.
And Frontier was where they set up all the streetcars.
The Navy housing, what actually happened was when they came into the Bay here, I read the history about this, the government took over all that Bay, the Bay Area right there where the airport is.
Yeah.
That was marsh.
Oh, yeah.
That was nothing but water.
all this was marsh.
Yeah. They took up all the land, all the way to, you know what, Midway, West Point Loma Boulevard is?
Yeah.
Where the old Midway Drive-In used to be?
Yeah.
It's called Sports Arena in Midway, right there. From that spot all the way down to Barnett.
Oh, yeah.
They took from there all the way into the bay. All that area was military.
Oh, yeah.
I seen pictures of it, tents. They had tents.
Well, you
all the way
know-
to Sports Arena.
there were great barrier reefs right off PB Point there. Two major great barrier reefs. They didn't tear them out till 1958.
Yeah.
And the Army...
They couldn't go in there.
No.
And so they were coming in through the bay here.
Yeah.
And so that's why the government bought all that land. Then little by little, they sold Frontier. It was that was all Navy housing. Up to the point where Midway and Rosecrans is, that was Navy housing. I grew up. I went to Dewey Elementary School.
Dewey.
Yeah, George Dewey.
God,
Elementary
you
School.
are freaking out.
Yeah, and that was all military. All military housing. I remember when I was a kid because there was a street called Fordham. Went through the military housing.
Still there.
And they used to call it, Fordham Dukes. There was a gang there, Fordham Dukes. Everybody woo the Fordham
You
Dukes.
too.
Yeah.
Pleasure meeting you.
All right. And, but little by little, the government sold off the property. All Frontier housing went, sports arena, all that area right there. That was all military.
Well, it was all marsh. It was all marsh not that long ago.
And they built the Navy base and the Marine Corps base right next to each other. They were protecting the bay. That big cannon up there. Have you ever seen the cannon up there?
Sure.
Facing the bay, yeah. And that was,
They had them at PB Point also. So, which I'm a big believer that the military absolutely destroyed that. I'm not a pro-military. In fact, I'm anti-military.
Yeah.
And people give me a lot of shit about it, but I don't give a shit. I'm really anti-military. And because I know what San Diego, I'm a student of history. I know how beautiful and hallowed this place was. And it was the Navy who fucked this place up.
Yeah, that's mainly who did it. It was the Navy. Well, they took all that property.
Do you know about the FTA that was based in San Diego in the 1950s
Well,
and
look at this.
60s?
The Navy still owns all of Miramar.
Yeah.
All that area out there is still all military. And little by little, they're selling it off to development corporations, build houses.
Disgusting.
Build all this really expensive house.
You ever gone but through there, man? It's nothing
I've
but empty
worked
land.
most of my life up in that area.
Yeah.
I still work in Kearney Mason.
Yeah, and that's all military.
By the way, if you want to see a really great vista in the evening, if you stand right about there and you look across, you can see La Jolla like it lights up like tomorrow. And you know what the other thing you see is that big golden Angel Moroni on the Mormon temple. I mean, it's irony. The view and the
Right down
vista.
I-5 all the way up to
You can look.
okay,
You stand right there in the evenings. The vista
up
down
on the
I-5 is stunning. And so, well, it's a pleasure meeting you and your history.
Yeah, I got to go. Anyway, I'm running late. Nice
What a
meeting
great
you.
conversation.
Yes. Your name is
Kevin Blanch.
Kevin.
Peter.
Ruben, huh?
Ruben.
Kevin.
Thank you for your knowledge and your history.
Oh no, that was nothing.
Yeah, you're.
Anyway, I'm still fogged up in my head. I don't even remember the name of the junior high school I went to.
You sure rattled off some good history, though.
Yeah, I did. It's right off there in Nimitz. Right off of Nimitz. Junior high
NOB. In Point Loma.
Between Point Loma and OP. Right there
I know where, yeah,
off
they have the
Nimitz.
baseball fields and shit there.
Yeah, there's a little baseball field there. What's the name of that school?
Well, what it's named now is,
I think it's Correa.
Maybe,
yeah, it's Correa now.
Yeah, maybe they changed the name.
Oh, I'm sure.
But anyway, it was
It's a
nice
pleasure.
meeting you once
It's a
again.
pleasure.
Okay, take care, huh?
What a great conversation that was. Are you kidding me?